All right, let's get right into it. We're all seeing just how incredibly powerful AI is becoming, but there's this one huge question that's always looming over it. Can we actually trust it? How do we know where it's getting its information? Well, today we're going to look at a genuine breakthrough that tackles this crisis of trust head on. Just picture this for a second. You're a professional, maybe a lawyer, a doctor, or a scientist. You ask an AI for something absolutely critical for a legal case, a patient's diagnosis, or a research paper, and boom, you get this perfect, beautifully written answer. But then you ask the simple follow-up. Okay, great. Where'd you get that from? And the AI just can't tell you. That's the exact problem we're going to see solved today. And this right here, this is the fundamental paradox of so many AI systems out there right now. They can churn through mountains of data and come up with these amazing insights, but it's like they have a kind of digital amnesia. They can't trace their own logic back to the source document, and that lack of a clear paper trail, it's a massive roadblock. You know, the research paper this is all based on puts it perfectly. This isn't just some small annoyance. It makes generative AI totally unreliable and maybe even dangerous for people whose jobs depend on verifiable facts. It's the one thing that's really holding AI back in all these high-stakes fields. So, to really get why the new solution is so smart, we first have to understand the old problem. Why do these systems have such a hard time with this? Let's take a look under the hood at the standard process and find out exactly where things go wrong. So, the go-to method in the industry right now is something called retrieval-augmented generation, or RAG for short. It's actually a really clever idea. You give the AI a library of specific documents to read, like your company's internal knowledge base or a bunch of legal contracts. That way, when you ask a question, it's supposed to pull answers from those facts, not just make things up. But here it is. Here's the fatal flaw in that whole process. To make those documents easy to search, traditional RAG basically acts like a digital paper shredder. It takes a perfectly good document with all its structure, chapters, page numbers, you name it, and just dices it up into hundreds of little, random, disconnected pieces of text called chunks. And in that shredding process, all that critical location info, gone, vanished. The AI might find the right words, but it has absolutely no clue if they came from page 2 or page 200. Okay, so if the old way is all about shredding the book and losing your place, the new solution is all about creating the perfect digital bookmark. It's about giving the AI a flawless way to remember exactly where every single piece of information came from. This new method is called index-RAG, or IRAG for short. And honestly, this analogy is the best way to think about it. It is exactly like giving the AI a perfect photographic memory, but one that comes with meticulously organized footnotes for every single fact it knows. It doesn't just know the information, it knows precisely where it saw it. So how in the world does it do that? Well, the core idea is actually pretty elegant. Instead of just tossing out all that useful location data, IRAG treats it like gold. As it reads a document, it creates this super detailed digital bookmark. We're talking file name, page number, even the line number, and it permanently attaches that bookmark to every little bit of information it stores. That context is now locked in. Now, that sounds amazing, right? But you might be thinking, doesn't that create a really slow, bloated system? Well, no. And that's because indexed RAG has a couple of tricks up its sleeve that make it not just way more accurate, but also surprisingly efficient. Okay, this first part is just so clever. It solves something called the vocabulary mismatch problem. That's when you ask a question, but you use slightly different words than the ones in the original document. A traditional system might just fail. But IndexRAG is smarter. It actually generates and indexes potential questions that a chunk of text could answer. So it creates all these different pathways that lead to the same right answer, making it way more likely to find what you need, no matter how you ask for it. And the second piece of the secret sauce is all about being lean and mean. To create all those extra pathways, you'd think it would have to copy the source text over and over again, which would eat up a ton of storage, but it doesn't. Instead, it uses these super lightweight pointers or vectors that all point back to the one single original copy of the text. It's called a multi-vector strategy. You get all the power of a much smarter search without any of the bulky, space-hogging downsides. So the theory is fantastic. You get smarter search, you save space, and you get perfect citations. But does it actually hold up in a head-to-head competition? Let's get to the data because this is where the story gets really good. All right, this is the real question, isn't it?
Is this just a tiny incremental improvement, or are we talking about a serious leap forward? Let's see if Index R actually delivers on the hype.
And here we have it, the results. This table puts index RAG right up against a standard baseline RAG system. Now, don't worry about all the jargon and acronyms. Just look at the two columns. On every single metric they tested, iRAG just plain wins. It consistently outperforms the old way. But there's one number here that really tells the whole story. Let's zero in on this one metric, precision at 1. This is the big one. It basically asks, how often did the system find the single most relevant document and put it at the very top of the list? And look at that difference. The old system gets it right about 2/3 of the time, which is okay. But index RAG, it nails the number one result over 83% of the time. That is a huge difference. Let's just boil this down to one number. That's a 25% relative improvement in getting the most important result right first time. In the world of AI development, an improvement that big isn't just a step forward. It's a massive leap. It means you're just far, far more likely to get the best possible answer right away. Now, a 25% performance jump is obviously impressive, but the real impact here goes way beyond just the numbers on a chart. This is about fundamentally changing our entire relationship with AI by, for the first time, building it on a solid foundation of actual trust. So where is this going to matter the most? Well, think about any field where showing your work isn't just a good habit, it's a non-negotiable rule. Law, medicine, financial compliance, academic research. For these pros, being able to verify a source is everything. IndexR doesn't just make AI a little bit better for them, it makes it truly usable, maybe for the very first time. And this isn't just about what professionals want. It's quickly becoming what the law demands. Major regulations around the world, like GDPR in Europe for data privacy or HIPAA in US healthcare, all require auditability and transparency. An AI that can cite its sources down to the specific line number is an AI that's actually built for the future of regulation. So really, what this all boils down to is a huge shift. We're moving away from just wanting AI to be correct to now demanding that it be accountable. And a system like Index RAG is a foundational building block for that future, creating that clear, undeniable, verifiable link between an AI's answer and the actual evidence. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. For so long, the conversation has been about all the things we can't do with AI because we couldn't trust it. But if we can now solve that problem, if an AI can perfectly document and prove its work, what happens next? What new, more complex, more important tasks can we finally and confidently hand over? The possibilities are really just beginning to open up.